In the Khufu kingdom, two twins were born on a Saturday night, bringing joy to their family. Abeni was tall and slender, while her sister Abena was curvaceous and full of life. As they grew up, Abeni faced cruel teasing from the villagers because of her appearance. But her loving sister Abena always stood up for her, defending her against the bullies. Tragedy struck when Abena's boyfriend left her, blaming Abeni's skinny jeans. Anger took root in Abena's heart, turning sisterly love into resentment. Abeni's talent for cooking became her solace amidst the pain of mockery. Then came the Queen Maiden competition, offering Abeni a chance to shine. Despite doubts, Abeni entered the competition and surprised everyone. In the end, Abeni's unique beauty and talent led her to victory and reconciliation with Abena. In the darkest hour of one Saturday night in the Khufu kingdom, a set of twins were born. Two beautiful girls, born into the revered family of Papa and Mama Orosea, were welcomed with joy and love. Their father, a prosperous gold merchant who traded far and wide, named the newborn twins Abeni and Abena. As the twins grew, the differences between them became more and more apparent, despite the fact that they were fed the same meals and raised in the same way. Abeni, the elder twin, was tall, skinny, and appeared frail, while Abena, the younger, was robust, curvaceous, and full of life. As the years went by, Abeni became the object of mockery in the village. Her slender frame, which some might have viewed as graceful, was often ridiculed by the village folks. They called her cruel names like Odo, meaning skeleton, or Muwunda, which means skinny fish. Each insult would pierce Abeni's heart, and she would often run home in tears. At home, her parents did their best to comfort her. Even Abena, her loving sister, would offer words of encouragement whenever she could. Despite the close bond the twins shared, Abeni could never escape the cruelty of the villagers. No one wanted to be her friend, and most social groups in the village rejected her outright. The few who accepted her only did so to humiliate her, using her as the butt of their jokes until she grew weary and quit attending their gatherings. Abena, however, was the complete opposite. Beloved by almost everyone, she had many friends and was part of various social groups in their village. The one thing that kept Abeni going amidst all the negativity was her incredible cooking skills. She took joy in preparing meals for her family, and whenever she did, everyone would lick their plates clean, showering her with praise. Her home was her sanctuary, but whenever she stepped outside, she was met by wolves in the form of villagers, waiting to tear her down with their mean words. One afternoon, the twins went to the marketplace to buy food ingredients. As they approached the fishmonger's stall, the seller chuckled and said, "Abena, why did you suck all your sister's blood?" The crowd around them roared in laughter. Another person added, "Watch out for the wind tomorrow, Abeni, you might just blow away." Abeni was crushed by the remarks, unable to say a word. But Abena, protective as ever, fired back, "You should all be ashamed of yourselves. Most of you have children, and if you don't, it must be because you're too bitter. You all behave like fools." Hearing her sister stand up for her brought warmth to Abeni's heart. Abena never failed to defend her, no matter the circumstances. But things took a turn for the worse when Abena's boyfriend Kofi came to visit. Kofi was the son of a prominent cocoa farmer in the region, and he and Abena had been in a relationship for 2 years. He arrived that evening with heartbreaking news. Their relationship had to end. "My parents won't allow us to marry," Kofi said, his eyes filled with sorrow. "But why?" Abena asked, her voice trembling with emotion. "Am I not good enough for you?" "You know it's not about that. You're perfect, Abena. But my parents are afraid that if we marry, our children might inherit Abeni's skinny genes," Kofi explained. Abena couldn't believe her ears. Her heartbreak turned into anger and resentment. And for the first time in her life, she began to see her sister Abeni not as the sibling she had always protected, but as the source of her own misfortune. Abena cried herself to sleep every night, feeling the weight of isolation as her friends began to distance themselves. Bitterness took root in Abena's heart, transforming her love for her twin sister into resentment. One day, Abeni prepared a delicious meal, hoping to bring joy to the family. In a fit of spite, Abena threw sand into the pot of food, her anger spilling over. "Why would you do that?" Abeni cried, her confusion evident as hurt filled her eyes. "Shut up, you skinny witch!" Abena snapped back cruelly, the words laced with years of pent-up frustration. Abeni was left speechless, her heart breaking at her sister's sudden cruelty. The following week, Abeni fetched a bucket of water from the village well and left it in the bathroom, intending to bathe after changing her clothes. While she was away, Abena sneaked in and poured itching powder into the water. When Abeni returned and bathed with the contaminated water, her skin began to itch uncontrollably. She scratched herself until she screamed in pain, and their parents had to rub her body with palm oil to ease the itching. All the while, Abena stood nearby, laughing. It was then that Abeni realized her once loving sister had turned against her. Abena's cruelty didn't stop there. Whenever they went to the market together, Abena would loudly call Abeni a skeleton in front of everyone, making sure that the villagers knew she was done standing up for her twin. Abeni's heart grew heavier with each passing day, and she often cried herself to sleep. Their parents scolded Abena, telling her to stop humiliating her twin sister. "She is your blood," Mama Arusa would say, her voice filled with sorrow. But Abena felt no remorse. "Abeni destroyed my life. The love of my life, Kofi, left me because of this stick of a sister," she shouted one day in anger. Their mother, who couldn't believe what she had just heard, slapped Abena hard across the cheek. The slap did nothing to change the embittered young woman's heart. Life continued this way until a grand event began to stir excitement in the region. The Queen Maiden competition, held once every decade, was on the horizon. Each of the three neighboring kingdoms, Khufu, Asase, and Yansa, was required to send three of their most beautiful and capable maidens to compete. This year, Yansa Kingdom was to host the competition. As the village of Khufu prepared to choose their representatives, the names of the most popular maidens were tossed around in conversations. Some of the villagers even mockingly mentioned Abeni's name, but they quickly laughed it off. "Who would choose a skeleton to represent us?" they jeered. Abeni felt no hope of being chosen for the competition. But one day, while fetching water at the village stream, she met a man named Adumoa. Unknown to her, Adumoa was one of the organizers of the Queen Maiden competition. He was immediately struck by Abeni's tall, slender figure. "What beauty is this?" he exclaimed. "You are blessed with a lovely figure that many would envy." Abeni was stunned, unsure whether he was being sarcastic. But Adumoa's admiration was genuine. He told her that he was in the village to gather the names of the maidens who would represent Khufu Kingdom. "I'm sure your name will be on the list," he added confidently. Abeni shook her head. "That will never happen," she said softly. "No one in this village would ever think I'm worthy of such a competition. They only see me as a skeleton." Adumoa was shocked and saddened by what he heard, but he urged Abeni to attend the competition, even if she wasn't chosen to compete. After some hesitation, Abeni agreed. On the day of the competition, the twins and their parents traveled to Yansa Kingdom, where the contest was to be held. The air was filled with excitement as the representatives of each kingdom were introduced. After the 9 contestants were called out, the organizers announced that the host king had chosen one additional maiden to join the competition, Abeni. The crowd was struck with disbelief. Abena's face twisted with jealousy and anger. "What could a drumstick possibly do in this contest?" she muttered under her breath. But there was nothing she could do to stop it. Abeni's parents, on the other hand, were overjoyed and clapped wildly as their daughter stepped forward, looking graceful and radiant in her elegant attire. The competition began with a cooking contest. For Abeni, cooking was second nature. She finished her dish in no time, and when the judges tasted the meals, Abeni was one of the top 5 contestants who advanced to the next round. The second stage was a treasure hunt. The maidens had to swim across a river and search the forest for a hidden treasure. Abeni's slender form made her the fastest swimmer, and she reached the forest ahead of the others. After searching for what seemed like an eternity, Abeni spotted a shiny blue object in the distance. "That must be it," she thought, but before she could reach it, another contestant, Afia, raced past her and grabbed it. As Afia triumphantly headed back, Abeni realized something. There were several other blue objects scattered throughout the forest. These must be decoys, she thought. She continued to search until she noticed something glittering above her. There, perched high in a tree, was a golden treasure box. Thanks to her tall stature, Abeni easily climbed the tree and retrieved the treasure. When she returned to the palace, she was greeted by astonished looks from the crowd. The real treasure was revealed to be identical to what Abeni had brought back, and she was crowned the Queen Maiden of the Three Kingdoms. Abeni's victory stunned the villagers of Khufu, and suddenly those who had once ridiculed her began to shower her with praises and apologies. Her parents were beyond proud, but Abeni, filled with shame, couldn't bear to face her sister. When they returned home, Abeni began packing her belongings. "I can't stay here anymore. I've been so cruel to you, Abeni," she sobbed. "Why would you leave your family?" Abeni asked softly, stopping her sister. "I humiliated you, treated you like less than a sister. I don't deserve your forgiveness," Abeni cried, her voice filled with regret. "Abeni, I love you. We came into this world together and I will never turn my back on you," Abeni said, pulling her sister into a warm embrace. The twins reconciled, and from that moment on, they lived happily together. The villagers learned a valuable lesson about kindness and acceptance. Abeni's unique beauty and talents were finally seen and celebrated. This story teaches us that beauty comes in many forms, and true strength lies in embracing our uniqueness. When life presents challenges, we must never let the voices of mockery or humiliation drown out our inner worth. Instead, we should rise above and show the world what we're truly capable of. Let this tale remind you to embrace your differences and turn your challenges into opportunities.